Howdy, everyone. It's a great day for American history. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about your Frontier Letter assignment, some things to do, some things to avoid, and things that apply not only to the letter, but things that also apply to your America Grows story. So, if we just kind of start here, you're looking at your Frontier Letter assignment rubric right here. Let's blow it up a little bit. One of the very basic things that we had to do in the letter was portray what life was like in the West and include some facts. Okay, so I put some examples in here of how some people did that pretty easily. I think there's a lot of folks who kind of made putting facts into your letter a little bit more tricky than it needed to be. Okay, but let me give some examples of how you might do that pretty seamlessly. Right down at the bottom, even in your Frontier Letter assignment example, you had like tips for writing your letter. And honestly, within the first two examples right here, I really do have 5 facts that would all count as facts, right? I left from independence, fact, right? In the spring, people left in the spring. Everywhere I look, I see wagons. People took wagons to go to the west. It looks like a line of ships on a sea that is as wide as the prairie. Okay, or that is this wide open prairie. So if you look at that, like these are all facts. That's all accurate information about what life was like going to the west. So we started in Independence, Missouri. People left in the spring to avoid a harsh winter. Most travelers used wagons called prairie schooners. A schooner is a ship, right? Just like like they're on a sea, right? And if you think about it, the first 400 or 500 miles of the whole trail are just all in the Great Plains, right? So wide open prairie, Great Plains. Simple ways to get in quite a few facts. So tip number 1 is think about all the things that are facts. There are a lot of facts just in describing what you see and what you smell and what you hear around you, or what you would. You really kind of have to think about it and immerse yourself in the character, though. The other thing to do is to really develop your character, right? In this example, we have character Janet, and she says, "It's been 10 days since we left Independence, Missouri. The land is turning a beautiful green all around and in front of us. And it hasn't been completely eaten away. Trees are starting to grow back their leaves, and you can see how happy everyone is. Martha is practically skipping across the countryside while Mother and Father walk happily beside the wagon. It is so exciting traveling across the country." There's some facts in there, and what I really want you guys to notice, if you just read that, I know a lot about this character. She's happy, there's a light mood, everything's turning green. We're all in a good mood. And so to start, your character has been set, right? Your character is happy. They're excited about going west. Is that going to change? Hopefully you develop your character. It doesn't mean they have to be sad. It just means that they need to be developed. And right away, I have a tone that says that she's excited and she's a little bit pumped about going west, right? So I know that right away, and the character has basically been established right there. Here, develop your character a little bit more. Over here, you say, and the same person says, "I'm sorry for not writing for so long, but I recently broke my arm, which sucks. I had been trying to step out of the wagon. This is the kind of thing that happens. Wheel caught on the dress." So on and so forth. So we got factual information there, dragged me under, all this bad stuff happens. And now we can kind of see that the days are getting longer, they're getting hotter, they're traveling along the Platte River. All these things are true. They're factual information. And as it's getting into June, it's getting hotter outside, and the tone of the letter has changed. Now things kind of suck in the middle of the trail. Things are a little bit trickier. Your character has a little bit more depth to her. So you think about it like this, it's really easy to include ways to bring depth to your character, okay? And include facts in a pretty seamless way. Things to avoid, quickly. Please avoid logical issues, right? So right here we have Johnny setting out with someone else, and they're going to California. But the problem is that, number one, Nobody knew that there was gold in California in 1826, and in fact, it did not belong to the United States. Issue number 2 is that people didn't just leave in the middle of the winter because it's cold and you're going to die. Like, that's just not something that happens, right? They might have been excited about the riches that awaited them in California, but that's just not a thing, right? So dates are one of the biggest logical issues that most people have. If I keep on coming down here, here is an example of a student who took off on April 10th, 1848, which is great. That's a great time to be leaving for Oregon. However, if you're leaving on April 10th and you're arriving in Oregon by July 25th, that's a little bit of a logical issue, right? People don't travel the Oregon Trail in 3 months. Okay, they travel in about 6 months. This definitely would be a Guinness Book of World Records amazing task to complete the Oregon Trail in 3 months. It's just not something that happened. Try to think those things through. Those are logical feats or logical fallacies and issues that you want to kind of deal with. Last thing is sociopathic tendencies. You don't want to be missing out on opportunities to develop your character. 300 people just died, and you need to show that you're a little bit more sad than, hey, we're getting ready to start going, and hopefully these next couple months will be easier, right? If 300 people died, you need to stop and develop your character a little bit, okay? If little Jimmy passed away and you buried him at a beautiful place, you need to talk about how your character changes at that point, okay? Not about how you're going to be pumped about seeing the Rocky Mountains. You can't just say mom or dad died and then move on. Again, that makes you a sociopath, and it really prevents you from developing your character in the way that you need to, okay? So these are just a couple of tips about how to improve your letter a little bit, some things to do, some things to avoid. I hope this is helpful.